Welcome to the regular meeting of Monday, January 26th, 2026. Calling the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Adoption of agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look over the agenda? Are there any additions or deletions? No. Seeing none, can I get a motion off the floor for adoption of the minutes or the agenda, sorry.
I move that council adopt the agenda of the January 20th regular council meeting as presented.
All those in favor? And that is carried. We'll move on to number 3, adoption of the minutes. The minutes of January 12th are in your package. If you've had a chance to look them over, and if you have any changes to that. Does anyone have any? If not, can someone make that motion? Councillor Douce.
I move that council adopt the minutes of the January 12th, 2026 regular council meeting as presented.
All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Moving on to number 4, public hearings, we have none. On to number 5, delegation presentations. We have Energy Alberta to welcome to the room today. Please come up to the table and we're ready for your presentation.
Okay. Thank you all so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to council this evening. My name is Katie McKinnon, and I'm the Director of Engagement for Energy Alberta. And I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Dowse. I'm the Socioeconomic Assessment Lead for Energy Alberta.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Therese Nowakowski. I'm a Senior Engagement and Communications Advisor with Energy Alberta.
And we also have our colleague here, Mary French, who is our lead for employment, training, and procurement. Oh. Oops.
There we go.
So before we begin, we do like to start all of our presentations by acknowledging that we are gathered here in the traditional territories of the Treaty 8 First Nations, and that this region, including the Peace River area, has been home to Indigenous people, First Nations, and Métis peoples for generations. Energy Alberta honors and recognizes their deep connection to the land, water, and sky, as well as their enduring stewardship and contributions to these territories. So with respect to an agenda for the presentation, we'll start with a brief project overview, fairly high level, and then my colleague Therese will go over, provide some information on the feedback that we gathered last fall when we were out doing public information sessions in the community. And then Susan will walk through the socioeconomic effects assessment, as well as an opportunity for us to, or for the town of Peace River to work collaboratively with us through parts of that assessment. And then we'll just talk about a few other things that are coming up with respect to the project. So as many of you are no doubt aware, Energy Alberta is proposing a 4,800 megawatt nuclear power facility, which would consist of 2 to 4 1,000 megawatt class nuclear reactors. And the proposed project is approximately 30 kilometers north of Peace River. We're looking at 2 potential siting options right now, one on the west side of the Peace River and the other on the east side. We are still very much in the early phases of this project, of the regulatory phase, which means that we're still engaging on the scope of the assessment and determining what it is that we'll review and assess associated with the project as we move through the regulatory process. Many of you are probably aware that we did put forward a request to the Impact Assessment Agency in the fall, in August of last year, asking them to pause that regulatory timeline. We're still under that pause right now and have not yet decided when we'll ask to have it lifted. But we're looking at considering lifting that pause in the end of Q1 of this year. So we often get questions as to why we're looking in this area to locate the proposed nuclear power facility. And there are a lot of factors that go into siting a facility like this one. Obviously, there are many technical considerations, and we need to ensure that the area has favorable ground conditions that are stable to support a facility like this, access to transportation infrastructure and proximity to transmission infrastructure as well. We also look for an area that has a good local workforce with opportunities for growth and community development. We don't yet have final workforce numbers, but facilities like this require upwards of about 2,000 employees full-time in order to operate the facility. So there's a need to have a really strong workforce to support the project. Growing regional power demand is a big consideration, and the province of Alberta has identified that this northwestern area of Alberta is really underserved for generation, and that there is a growing need over the next 10 to 15 years to substantially increase the amount of power available in the power grid in Alberta. And finally, we need to site these facilities near large water courses because we require cooling water for the generation of power. And so that's why we're looking in proximity to the Peace River. So in terms of the project stages, this is quite a lengthy process. If you take a look at this timeline, you'll notice that we anticipate that the first unit won't be in operation and generating electricity until about 2035. So it's about a 10-year timeframe from when we started the regulatory process last year. As I said, we're still in this early phase of the initial regulatory process, which is a joint review that's undertaken by the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada and the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. That joint review process is approximately 3 years long. And right now we're still in that early planning phase where they're determining the scope of the assessment. Once that scope is set, we'll move through the assessment phase, and then there's a decision-making phase where those regulatory agencies will hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the project can proceed. If we're successful in that process, and if we're successful in receiving what's called a license to prepare site, we'll move into the next phase, which is the white box over, which we anticipate would start sometime around end of 2028 or early 2029. And that's the site preparation phase, and that's really civil work. So essentially preparing the finally selected site to be able to start constructing the facility. And that takes approximately 2 years. And in that time, we will also be applying to the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission for a license to construct. That license to construct process looks at the final detailed design of the facility and ensures that the final design meets all of the required technical criteria in order to be able to safely build the facility. The construction phase is quite long as well, about 8 years-ish. And facilities like these are built in phases. And so we would look to construct the first 2 reactor units and bring them online while constructing the final 2 reactor units. And so there is a possibility that the construction phase could overlap with early operations as well. But before we're able to commence operations of this facility, we need a 3rd license from CNSC, which is called the license to operate. And in that licensing process, they look at the management systems and safety programs, emergency response plans, all of those sorts of things to make sure that we're, again, able to safely operate the facility. The only other thing I'd note here is that the anticipated lifespan of this facility is 70 years. So I'll just turn it over to Therese now to speak to public engagement.
Thank you, Susan. So as you are no doubt aware, Energy Alberta hosted 4 public engagement sessions this past fall in the region, where we saw more than 240 people attend across the 4 sessions. These sessions sort of dovetailed off of our first public engagement open house, which was hosted in March of 2025. And these sessions took a bit of a deeper dive into some of the topics that we've heard more prevalently throughout our engagement activities. So we took a bit of a deeper dive into environmental effects, nuclear fundamentals and safety, socioeconomic and community impacts, which Susan will speak to. Siting, of course, is a important topic, and lastly, training, employment, jobs, and procurement, which Mary will speak to. Our feedback that we received from the communities and participants emphasized sort of an importance on transparent information. People really appreciated the opportunity for the ongoing updates and continued dialogue. We also heard from people that they appreciated the opportunity to speak to sort of that in-person interactions and one-on-one engagement, and able to speak directly to technical experts and members of our project team. We also want to note too that while while the feedback that we heard demonstrated a fairly balanced perspectives and interests, we also heard very valid concerns from community members too on environmental effects, of course, safety, long-term nuclear waste, storage and management solutions, and of course, potential negative impacts to local economy, infrastructure, and social services. And so Energy Alberta is committed to working through those that feedback and providing solutions for communities. Susan.
A little bit more about the regulatory process and the types of studies that we'll be working through on this project. The regulatory process of doing the impact statement looks at the assessment of both environmental and community effects or potential effects. And that process we anticipate will occur over several years, as the schedule slide pointed out. And right now, as we've mentioned, we are very early in the project phases. On the left side of this slide, we're in what we call the scoping stage, where we're looking at the types of studies we need to do, how do we frame them, what are the study areas, et cetera, and getting ready to move into what we call baseline data collection, or looking to understand the current conditions across the range of topic areas that we'll be studying. From there, we'll move through identifying potential effects, as well as the mitigation or enhancement measures associated with those potential effects, identifying a monitoring approach for the project, and all of the studies will come together into an impact statement report, which we'll submit to the regulator, which will help inform their decision-making about the project. The key in this slide is that we are early in the process, and that we will continue to engage with local communities, service providers, Indigenous communities, and landowners and the public as we move through the process. The assessment of potential effects is required by a regulator to look at a wide range of topics related to both the natural environment and the human environment. Some of the themes of the topics that we will be examining include topics related to atmosphere, related to land, related to water, and related to people. And we also look carefully at the interactions between these themes. We recognize that there can be potential interactions between, say, environmental effects and, for example, health effects or community effects. So while we have specialists in all these areas, we look a lot at the potential interactions between effects as well. Focusing specifically on the human environment or the community effects, we are embarking on what we call a socioeconomic assessment, or an assessment of potential socioeconomic effects as required by our regulator. And so what is that? What do we mean by that? That's a series of studies and assessment that looks at really a big central question of how might a project like this affect the way people live, work, and enjoy their lives here in this region, if a project like this was in this region. Our approach when we're looking at this kind of assessment is guided by some key principles. Firstly, we are aiming to be balanced. We're examining ways to enhance the benefits associated with a project like this, as well as minimizing the potential for adverse effects. We also look across all project phases. We recognize that effects might look different during the site preparation or construction phase of the project, and then settle into different kinds of potential effects over the long-term operating life. And then different again when the project is decommissioned at the end of its life. Across all this, we are community driven. The feedback we get from communities and stakeholders shapes the areas that we study, the topics that we study, as well as the types of mitigation or enhancement measures that we can consider or collaborate on. And collaboration really is key. Working collaboratively to identify local information, how can we work together to fill gaps, and how can we build project scenarios into public service planning is central themes to our work. So where do we go from here? Our work on these topics and on our research and engagement will be continuing over the next year or two. In relation to some of the socioeconomic topics we'll be looking at, when we look at some of the conditions and effects related to the economy or economic conditions, We anticipate looking at topics related to labor supply and demand, training and education, business capacity, as well as the overall economic effects of the project as it relates to, for example, government revenues, income, GDP, et cetera. On the social side, social conditions, we look at topics related to population and dynamics, infrastructure and services, land use considerations, as well as overall community character and way of life. On health topics, we look into aspects related to potential for human health risk effects, which would be looking at the potential for environmental media that could have implications on health. So biophysical determinants of health, as well as social determinants of health, how the economic and social factors can affect overall sense of community well-being. And working with Indigenous groups, there are particular studies that we'll be looking at related to cultural and heritage sites, traditional land and resource use, as well as rights and interests of Indigenous people. So in terms of next steps, we are exploring and proposing possibly establishing a working group of regional, municipal, and service organizations from the region surrounding the project that could possibly work together to guide and inform these studies that we're working on over the next 2 years. A working group such as this could begin meeting possibly later this quarter around that time and meet as needed or on a quarterly basis during the assessment period to around some objectives, possibly to contribute to the baseline studies, to bring forward community priorities, information where we might have information gaps, and help us identify potential groups within the regional population that might experience effects uniquely. The committee might be able to contribute to understanding or characterizing the potential effects and identifying mitigation or enhancement plans. And overall, the working group or committee could help promote transparency and collaboration on the work that we're doing on these studies. So today, we are bringing forward a question to council for consideration and seeking confirmation if a staff representative from your municipality may wish to participate on a working group as such as that to help guide and inform our socioeconomic studies. So we'll leave that as a question for consideration today.
Thanks, Susan. And then just with respect to a few other project updates, sorry. With respect to a few other project updates, as I mentioned before, we asked the Impact Assessment Agency to pause the timeline in August associated with the regulatory process so we could take some more time to work with Indigenous nations and communities around relationship building. So we have not yet made the decision to lift the pause, but we are looking at doing that by the end of this quarter. In addition to that, we sort of made an announcement in the fall that we were looking at alternate technology options for the project. And so when the project was initially proposed and in the initial project description, we described using the CANDU Monarch technology, which is the Canadian technology and evolution of what's currently operating in Ontario. We are also now considering using the AP1000 reactor, which is a Westinghouse reactor that is operating across the United States. There are 16 more of them, I think, in construction in various stages across the United States as well. The evaluation of that technology is ongoing and will be throughout this initial regulatory process. And the determination of what technology is ultimately selected it really relies a lot on the state of that technology at the time that we need it. There are several other projects like ours in Canada that are looking at both technologies as well and waiting to determine which one will be ready in time. So because of that change in technology, we are also making an update to the initial project description, which will allow us to move through the regulatory process in a technology neutral way. And the way that we do that is we look at the potential effects associated with each of those reactor technologies And then we take the greatest possible effect for any given media. So for example, air emissions, we look at the two technologies and whatever the greatest possible air emission impact is, that's what we study, which means that our assessment becomes quite conservative and allows for any possible scenario depending on which technology we choose. So that the initial project description update that's in development will be submitted to the Impact Assessment Agency at the same time that we request the pause be lifted. And it identifies the alternate technology options. So there's a sort of a red line version that shows the changes over the original one that was submitted. We are also currently considering which of the two siting options we want to proceed to study for the impact assessment. It's not possible for us to study both. That is too big a bite to take, I think. So we're looking at making that decision by the end of Q1 as well, and that will determine whether we're on in the County of Northern Lights or in the option in Northern Sunrise County as well. So those are some of the sort of bigger project updates that we have going on. We are also continuing to engage within the local community as much as we can. And so in addition to this working group that Susan identified as an opportunity for local governments to participate, we have also proposed to the CAOs of the 18 local governments that we're working with, that we would be prepared to offer a quarterly update to CAOs where we would just provide high level project information that they could then bring back and share with elected officials and within local government organizations. And so we've heard a lot of interest from CAOs, and so we anticipate rolling those out probably in Q2. We are also, as we're up in the community doing presentations like this and other meetings, we're also doing what we call community pop-ups. And so essentially setting up in a coffee shop or a restaurant or grocery store, rec center, or something like that for a few hours, advertising our presence and just inviting people and members of the public to come and have a discussion with us. So we held our first one 2 weeks ago here in Peace River at Jay's Java Domain. And I think we had about 20 or 25 people stop by over the course of 3 hours and had some really good, lengthy conversations about the project. And so we will continue to do that. We're interested in hearing from everyone, and we're finding that in addition to the large scale events, it's helpful to go where people are and to catch them where they are. So our next one is tomorrow in Grimshaw, Wednesday in Grimshaw. I have been wrong. So we'll continue to do that throughout the community, as well as participating in local events as well. So fairs, rodeos, those sorts of things, wherever we can be involved in the community. We're happy to do so. In addition to that, Mary is holding an engagement session with the Chamber of Commerce here in Peace River tomorrow. And that's an opportunity for local business owners to come and talk about potential procurement opportunities and how to become ready for the opportunities that may arise through the project. And that's sort of the first part of the work that Mary and Susan will be doing over the next several months to understand what the local business landscape looks like and how we can support those businesses to be able to take best advantage of the economic opportunities that would arise from this project. And then finally, we are always happy to come back and present as a delegation to council. So we'll continue to communicate with your CAO when we have important things to share, but if you ever have questions and you would like us to come back, we're that's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions, councillors? Mr. Deuce?
Thank you for the presentation. My question revolves around the community impacts part of the study. So when you're doing this, do you look at the community as a whole and kind of decide, like, if this was to happen in this area, you will need this many more houses, this much more infrastructure, that sort of thing? Or how in depth can you talk a little bit more about how that works?
So essentially we start with understanding what the existing capacity, if you will, of the market, whether it's the housing market or other services in the region. And then at the same time, we're trying to refine what our anticipated footprint will be in terms of the labor force and population. I think those are really key first steps to understand what the labor force need is as it relates to the capacity of the region. And it gives us a sense of what that population shift might be. So, and from there, we'll get an understanding of where the gap is. You know, the workforce of a facility of this kind during the construction phase could be up in the thousands, 5,000 or plus, depending on the type of technology, even more at peak. So we are looking to see, once we know what those projections are, what are our options or tools in terms of how we can house the direct workforce. So, and we will be working with whether it's tourism or hotels, or where we can understand the housing market from experts who live and work, have lived experience in this region, to understand what the opportunities are, and then what we can do in terms of finding solutions to house the workforce.
Thank you.
Councillor Forsyth?
Do you have an estimate, like if we ended up with 4 reactors in the end, you know, like full-time operation and maintenance jobs in the end, what that would look like? Or is there a ballpark figure for that?
So, yeah, certainly, so we still have to do the project specific economics and labor force analysis associated with this project, but as we noted, the operations workforce for a facility like this could be in the order of 2,000 permanent full-time jobs associated with the 70-year life cycle of the project.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be the sort of the direct, potentially direct workforce. So part of the consideration in this study and in the population analysis too is the kind of ripple effects that has throughout the economy in terms of supply chain, and then the effect of the induced spending itself in terms of grocery stores and going to the dentist and you know the service sector as well. But we can provide more details about, as we learn more about our analysis and our assessment, the types of jobs that are specific to our facility. And that kind of information, detailed information, is required in our impact statement, sort of quite specific around these are the types of jobs, the occupation classification code, and how many FTE full-time equivalent positions we would anticipate. So an order of magnitude for a sense of things at this stage is about 2,000 direct jobs during operations.
And I have a question. So is your project you started it right from scratch? So like your development, do you work with the others that are doing similar projects? And because you have a litany of different studies and things like that, analysis that you have to do, is there any models that are existing that would help you do any of that quicker by information sharing with others, or stuff that has already been done? I'm just asking because one of the questions I get asked most of the time is, when is the soonest we'll know if it's a yes or a no? When is the soonest, and what can we do to expedite anything in the project, you know, as it's moving along? So can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So there are several large-scale nuclear reactor projects proposed across the country right now. So ourselves, there's one in Ontario and one in New Brunswick and others. And so insofar as we are all at various stages of the same process, we absolutely share information. Each project, though, is unique in its interaction between the project and the location, as Susan said. And so unfortunately, we can't, you know, look to our colleagues in Ontario and ask them what their water assessment was, because they're very different in that way. But certainly in terms of sharing information about how to move most efficiently through the regulatory process, we're very much in collaboration. And then, you know, Energy Alberta is its own entity, sort of privately owned independent company, but we do have memoranda of understanding with the 2 technology providers that allow us to gather detailed engineering and design information to support our assessment. as well as with other sort of nuclear companies that have had similar projects where we can tap into information and studies that they have had as well. So wherever we can be efficient, we try.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick example of like, so we can't share like environmental, but Susan and I are attending, sorry, I'll come to the mic, sorry. Susan and I, like in the beginning of March, we're meeting with other projects and people in similar roles. And they're bringing, the Alberta Innovates, the Alberta government is bringing educational providers from Ontario. They're bringing other project people that work in our space, and they're bringing us together so that we can do exactly what you're asking about sharing information. So as we grow and as that's the kind of stuff that, yeah, so we are doing that, and that is right now specifically in the space of labor, employment, and training. But that's, yeah, when we do, it's just, there's so many things that are specific, but.
Okay, and does that contribute to how fast the project will move? Or like, I guess I'm asking, what is there out there that can be done to move the process along? Is there anything we can do or anybody can do to do that, or?
Thank you. I mean, it contributes to how fast we can do our work. The regulatory process itself is, there are statutory timelines associated with that process. I think insofar as governments and local communities are willing to indicate a willingness to have the project in their community, I think that is one of the most beneficial things, as well as working with us through these studies and assessments. So the working group that Susan mentioned, because a lot of the data gathering she has to do is gathering data that local governments have in terms of how the infrastructure and services work and all that sort of stuff. So that would be very helpful.
Yeah, and I would add too, that there's, like, we have to walk through this 2-year process and work with the regulator. But to the effect, anything we can do to collaborate during this next year or two, as we're developing these studies, such that the impact statement that's put on the record with the regulator and subject to hearing and subject to review, the stronger that impact assessment is in terms of it's got the fingerprints of the community on it and reflected in it accurately, and that we've had, to the best of our ability, the opportunity to work together to ensure that it's wholesome, reflective of the local situation, and that any opportunities or ways that the project can collaborate on some of the larger, for example, questions of infrastructure or planning that sit beyond our control. But if there are ways to identify those and articulate kind of our relationship to them in the impact assessment, will make that stronger. So we are very keen to find ways that make sense with the local service providers and municipalities to work together so that application is as strong as it can be and is accurately reflecting the local situation that we hope will ensure or help the review process be as expeditious as feasible.
Okay, thank you. No other questions? Councillor Babalova.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the engagement that you've done and that you're planning to do. My question is around the engagement program or process. I attended a couple of these engagements, and I noticed that most of the attendees are like senior or almost senior. Are there any effort that you're making to kind of engage the youth or the young adults?
Yes, yeah, I mean, absolutely, and it's always a challenge in engagement, because the people who tend to have more time to come out and spend a few hours with us, tend to fall in older demographics, and so that's part of why we're doing these pop-ups, to try and be in community where people are. And so in particular, recreation centers, arenas, I know I spent my whole life in an arena when I'm not doing this job. And so trying to be where those families are. I know a few councillors had mentioned to us in the fall that there are some youth organizations in the community, and we would be more than happy to come and engage with them. And so if anyone has any suggestions, we're certainly open to them. But yes, we're hoping to try and target those audiences as well, and also looking at potential sort of online engagement or social media engagement, that sort of thing, which may capture that audience a bit better.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's good to know that you're making that because, this project has a lifespan of 70. I know for sure, I probably will not be around at that time. These are the young adults that will be there. So it's fair enough to give them the opportunity to also have an input there. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the work that Mary will be doing around employment and training in particular will also start to capture that sort of, youth who might be interested in training in fields that would be appropriate for this facility. And so that's important.
Community events.
Sure.
We also are looking for feedback and suggestions from locals. This last summer, we attended River Days, which was awesome and got an opportunity to chat with people and have a table and share project information. And I think that was really successful. So looking for other opportunities to be in community, whether it's, on weekends or like Keith mentioned, kind of at arenas and meeting people where they're at. So we look forward to that feedback.
Thank you for your presentation, and I'm sure that administration will get back to you on the question in a future date. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, number 7, unfinished business. There is none. And number 8, current business. Number 1 will be snow dump policy with Director Fisher.
Good evening. Just following up on sort of the discussion we had from last meeting, we've made some changes to the policy that were discussed. One, lowering the required insurance from 3 million to 2 million to kind of align with some of the feedback we had received from contractors, and adding a 1-year expiry on the approval so that contractors would approach us sort of every season as they need to, or using the snow dump. Lets us keep all of the insurance and everything up to date. And we kind of collect a lot of this information when we're heading up our winter contracts anyways from a lot of the contractors that would want to use the snow dump or that get contracted to remove snow for other people. So I guess I would be looking for a motion to either adopt the policy or amend it if you guys have additional changes you want to make. We have been kind of working loosely on this framework to get approvals out there for contractors to start following. So it's a good time. It's not snowing currently. Currently. So that's pretty much the basis of the conversation tonight.
Okay, councillors, any comments or questions for Director Fisher on this policy?
I've read this a couple times. I read it before the last council meeting and sadly I fell off the Zoom meeting. And I'm having real problem understanding why we need this, to be honest, Director Fisher. And I understand your arguments. I understand them completely. I may not agree with them, but I understand them. It's going to create more work for everybody from the bottom to the top, for administration, for you, for Director Kress. And at the end of the day, it's not really enforceable. It's no more enforceable unless we have somebody there watching. There are already environmental laws that you can't dump hazardous material. There's already that. So it seems redundant to me. It seems like one more hurdle for contractors to have to jump through to work for the town of Peace River. And we already have trouble getting contractors to work for the town of Peace River.
Just to be clear, these contractors are not working for us. They're removing snow for private individuals. That's the purpose of the policy.
Okay, another comment to that. There was a comment in here about if the town, if we have another excess here and the town runs out of area to dump the snow, then we will decline contractors from dumping. Where are they gonna dump?
I think our roads take precedence over the contractors.
Okay, but where are they gonna dump?
That's
We
another
should be
topic.
working. Well, my point is, we're the town, we should be working with these people.
This is the point of this policy, is to give me a publicly available and transparent framework to say, yeah, you can go ahead and dump snow. That's the whole purpose of the policy.
Isn't that already the case?
No, it doesn't exist.
No, but are they not already like able to dump?
No, I have the ability to allow people to dump through the bylaw. I making contractors authorized to use that. I have no process or transparent process currently to say, this is how you get authorized. And that's the point of the policy. It's not to create hurdles. It's to create a publicly transparent and available framework that allows us to approve it.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Parsons?
I just wanted to make a clarification, and just in case it was missed, and it might not have been, but this is not town contractors hired by the town to provide service on behalf of the town. It's the contractor, the private contractors that are hired that are providing service for their paying like for their customers that are paying them, not the town contractors working for the town. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but as I said, if we refuse to allow them to dump, where are they supposed to dump? It's snow that fell within the limits of the town, where are they supposed to dump?
Counselor Forsythe, or Counselor Ford, sorry.
Still doesn't work. I think it does not like me. Last meeting, well, I see the gentleman is here, but last meeting, we had some concerns brought up as far as like places to dump. So did we get that sorted out about dumping on the north end or dumping on this end of town?
Being approved in the policy is the north end snow dump. The only one that is being approved in the policy right now is the north end snow dump. That's the one that I am licensed to use regularly for Alberta Environment and Parks. That is the only one that is covered by this policy.
Okay, are we looking at other sites?
Yes, but I'm not in a position to do that right now.
Okay.
We cover that.
Counselor Forsythe?
Oh, I just wanted to, like, currently every winter, I don't think businesses need to use our snow dump. Like, don't make a big pile in their parking lot. Like, it's not typically been needed, so I think this is just our way of. I think it's our way of being nice to say you could use it, but we need to make sure you have insurance, this and that. I don't think, I don't, in my opinion, like, I think we're doing our due diligence in allowing that to happen. I don't think we're creating extra hurdles. The other, their other option is to not use our snow dump. Our contractors that are working for us use it, but like, I think this is a way of us allowing private businesses to have a place to dump other than just piling it on their private property. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing, personally.
Counselor Babalola, then Counselor Erickson.
Yeah, Councillor Fawcett has spoken on what I was going to say, that I think this is a step in the right direction, because it gives us the opportunity to kind of control this. Although, to his point, if you are not able to monitor it, then that gives a big question mark. However, I asked the question like, if the snow dump is full, where do we want them to dump their snow? We could reverse that to, like, if we allow contractors, and contractors kind of feed the snow dump site before us, where do we drop our own? So that may be another kind of way to measure it. If we allow them, they're dumping it, and we see that, okay, of course, we don't have this type of snow every year, but we see that, okay, this place is getting full, so please contractors, you can dump again to allow us to be able to dump our own. So as a control measure, I think this is a good thing to do.
Counselor Erickson?
I see that Mr. Gosler was here for last week, and I'm just curious as to whether he had his concerns addressed.
That,
Did you have your concerns addressed?
well, I mean. Not really, because what happens
We
when
can't.
there is no place to dump?
Ms. Parsons, we can't discuss this here, Robin, and we can't be having conversations with the gallery. Did you have a question for Mr. Fisher or a comment for us?
So his primary concern, Mr. Dossler's primary concern was he wanted to be able to use a location in the west end and not just the north end. And I'm not legislatively, regulatorily in a position to offer that. I can offer the north snow dump. That's what I can offer. That's what is on the table tonight.
But yet the town can use it illegally.
Okay. Mr. Dosler, you wait till the comments at the end, please, then you'll be able to talk then. This is getting really annoying, yeah. The way these speakers work here, I apologize if it's really echoey out there. I have a question. How large is this area where these people dump? Is it that small that we have to like start picking and choosing people, or how is that?
Pretty full right now because we've gotten a lot of snow. It's not full. I don't see us needing to say, hey, we're out of space, you need to stop. The policy is also worded if our operations are being impacted. So if I'm trying to dump trucks that I'm paying thousands of dollars a day for in operations, I don't want them to be waiting for private contractors to dump. So I might say, hey, I need this right now. You can't use it this week, right? That's part of it. If we had a really warm period of time and I couldn't get trucks in and out of the snow dump safely, I might also halt operations due to that, as opposed to in a past community, I had to bring in rig mats to be able to do snow removal because the area got too soft in the warm weather, about a foot of snow, and it was real nightmare. It was a huge expense, and I much rather would have just closed the snow dome. So that's the point of it, is if our operations are being impacted, we can say no. So it could be that it's full, that we can't dump, that they're impeding our ability to dump our trucks and get a return happening quick enough. It could be any of those things that we would say, can you give us a week or temporarily pause using this as a free for access service that we're providing because we understand that there's a bit of a pain point right now.
Okay, then further to your comment, when Mr. Carr or Councillor Carr was talking to you about where do they dump it? And you said it's not our problem. Okay, well, it's not maybe directly our problem, but as a town council, I think that we need to know or have some idea of where they can go. Just for our own, for other people that may be coming to ask that question. So do we have no other place that you're aware of that we can? I know it's not your problem, Mr. Fisher, but what can you tell me in relation to that with your knowledge around the surrounding area as it is?
It would be hard pressed to find another site to license for our own operations other than what's licensed and the one I'm looking at. So if both of those are full, then I'm probably in a big challenge operationally. And there are some things to do if it is temporary use, if it's every year, this is going to happen in this location, it's a different conversation than if it's a one-off year where we just have to get rid of some snow for now. So there's two different conversations to that, but in that one-off year, I'm not offering up property for other people to use. I'm trying to find places for us to hide our own snow and make it melt, so.
Okay, and then what drove this decision to come back to this? I mean, it for what, 25 years it's been like this, and then all of a sudden now it's not? Was it the big snow dump, or what drove for these changes?
That's part of it. The other part is same thing. We got complaints about our contractor sign-up process. And that is fully public and transparent, and we didn't have anything for the snow dump. So I didn't want anything. I wanted a publicly available and transparent process that it says, this is how you can get approved for using our snow dump to get rid of your snow. Just so that it's less of a fight if somebody doesn't meet those requirements and we say no, right? Because
And to be clear, it's only for those that are working directly for the town that can go in there, and people that are not working for the town, let's say, say property just construction or something that clearing snow, for me, they can't take it there.
No, you're confusing things here. So this is a policy around, it's not for our snow dump operations, if it's for businesses, private businesses to clear snow off of their lots, it's a place for them to take that snow. That's the point of this policy. Our contracted operations is covered under our operations stuff.
Councilor Forsyth?
I mean, we do want a policy because we can't say, yeah, everyone go dump snow there and then we have no insurance. We need a way to track these things.
Sorry, Mayor Shannon, I just also want to jump in. I did say that I would be going through this year and watching to see on a kind of crazy trust exercise, right? I understand that I don't have somebody there full-time to monitor it. In most places, you would. Or you would have an electronic gate that controls access. I'm not in a position to offer that up because I don't have that. And so I'm trying to find a way to say yes to the business community who is reaching out to us and asking.
Councilor Deuce?
So I have two questions. One being, the site on the West Hill that we keep talking about, what would it take to get that licensed? Number one. And number two, I reached out to our insurance company and they asked a question about include sudden and accidental environmental liability endorsement. They wanted to know a dollar amount on that. So do you have a dollar amount that you have in mind?
Whatever you get. And so, I know that it depends on your insurance provider and your operations. So, I do want that extension. I would like it in the amount of, I want to have a little bit of play on, but I do need something. So it's pretty common to see happen.
Thank you. And the West Hill dock question?
Yeah.
What would it take?
Engineering work from a third-party consultant. I may have to do geotechnical work, and we need to have a real conversation because that land was originally slated to build a building on it. And if we build a building on it, we have to remediate it. So it's a question of, does it make sense if that's in the long-term plan? My understanding is that that land was purchased to build a fire hall at one point in time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, will anyone entertain a motion? Councilor Forsyth?
Move that council adopt the snow dump use policy as presented.
Any other questions or discussions? All those in favor of the policy? All those opposed? And it is carried. That leads us to number 2, the downtown cameras discussion with Director Kress.
Mayor and council. So a while back, administration was requested to direction from council and forward from Deputy Carr on concerns of installation of cameras in the downtown. The background is to move initial forward to make appropriate allocations in the 26 budget for administration to seek council's direction on the following considerations. What would be the camera system primary intent? Directive evidence collections or both? Is it a capital cost range? What would be the capital cost range of the camera systems for deterrence or for the council prepared to consider to pay downtown? Are there future council and desire to see the camera systems such as the cloud-based high definition, night vision, motion, two-way radio capability, license plate reader, or facial recognition. Would there be an expectation to have live feed monitoring, or would it be more passive in the ability to review it afterwards? Are there particular locations in the downtown core that council would like to see high priority cameras installation? So upon this, getting notified about this, I called Lac La Biche County when I was up there looking. In their peace officer program had a wall like that, and they had about 10 TVs on it. They have 24 cameras in the downtown core, plus all their parks have cameras in them that they can live feed. And now they've made it iCloud that they can retrieve it from their workstations in their vehicles. So if there's an issue somewhere and someone calls there's someone there, they can pull up the live feed at that time. And as Councillor Ford said previously, there is now cameras out there that can do license plate readers to tell the RCMP if it's stolen, not stolen. Or if somebody runs a red light to hit somebody, then we can pick up the license plate that we can charge later on as well. So the strategy alignment for this here is a strong, safer, and connection community. The goal is to foster a safe community. So request that Crown Council provide direction on the above. Allow administration to develop opinions and costs and estimates to present the RFD for future consideration.
Okay, Councillor Carr, do you want to talk to this? You're the one that spoke to the person at the conference where this information was made available to us.
I spoke to her by phone, not at the conference, but she submitted actually a proposal to the town, which I shared with CAO Miller probably well over a year now. And I don't know exactly what she was offering. I know she based it on our crime data in town is how they came up with their proposal. I don't know if we need to go as heavy into it as what maybe she had proposed, and I don't even remember if there was a dollar value on it at the time. What I would like to see is downtown core, and you had mentioned you would like the footpath. If we go that way, I'd like them separate on the proposal if we could. But I think license plate reading, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it personally. I'd like to see it down Main Street and down each side of Main Street. So 3 streets. I don't know how close they have to be together. I really don't know. I was hoping you guys could bring something back, but that's kind of what I would like as the downtown core. And I have spoken to the RCMP, several of the RCMP, and they said it'd make their job obviously 100 times easier, as you indicated as well. Yeah, as to what it's going to involve, I really don't. I really can't speak to that. I saw the proposal, but beyond that, I didn't even understand half of it, to be quite honest. And I think facial recognition would be great, but I think we would run into a lot of legal hurdles probably if we went with that one. So I'll leave that up to you guys.
Would you be willing to make, oh, sorry, Councillor Ford.
Well, we had a discussion, I won't use this mic, but we had a discussion about cameras, not specific to downtown Peace River, but at our last RCMP advisory meeting. And it's to do with crime out in the oil field. And right now, one of our local oil field companies are utilizing this type of technology on their cameras with license plate readers. And it works. Especially when it comes up with stolen vehicles, like the AI technology, blue truck, blah, 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 blah. And it searches your database for you. But as far as cameras downtown and the downtown, I love this idea. It would be a big deterrent for the crime that we've been seeing. And I think it's a good idea, like I would love to see administration move forward with this. And do some more investigation on it and come back with some sort of pricing, some sort of different options. As far as the license plate reader and the technology that goes with this. Facial recognition, I know it's out there, but I think I do agree with Deputy Mayor, there might be some legal loopholes with that. But it would definitely make our community or downtown area way safer.
Mr. Carr?
The one that you said you with the 10 TVs and so on, they had live feed and recording capability, I'm assuming. Yeah, because I think that would be important, yeah.
Counselor Deuce?
Yeah, I would echo the same sentiment as Deputy Mayor Carr and Councillor Ford. I'd love to see this, especially in the downtown core. I would like to see something like Deputy Mayor Carr said, where it's down Main Street and the two side streets. I think it's something that we can definitely build on and then kind of build it out towards, you know, the walking trails and the parks, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it would be good for deterrence and evidence collection. I recently went through a case where we didn't have good enough footage on our cameras to charge somebody with a crime. So I think it would be a great idea to be able to assist the RCMP with any stuff that we could. As far as the night vision, that's definitely something that I would be into. License plate recognition, facial recognition, although it would be good, it sounds very expensive. So I'm not sure how much we would want to spend on this to start with, but I think it's definitely something that we could build on.
Councilor Ford?
There's also a camera program currently out there. With the RCMP that you as a homeowner or business owner can sign up for, so that if, and I imagine the town could do the same thing, that if there is an incident, let's say if I've got cameras on my house and I'm in Saddleback, if there's an incident up there, you can have your camera registered, so the
Yes.
RCMP, all they have to do is, hey, do you have any footage that we could use? And not that they can go onto your camera and look at it, but it's more information sharing. Yeah.
Would you be prepared to make a motion?
Oh, yeah. Councillor Deuce.
Okay,
I was just gonna say that I don't think it's something that we need to have, you know, someone sit and monitor. But I do think it'd be relevant to have the information available should something happen, like a bad car accident or something like that. Thank you.
Councilor Forsyth?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with kind of everything everybody's saying. Might be nice to get some prices just even on like a pilot base. Just for like a cloud-based system. And has anyone heard, like, is there any provincial or federal grant funding for community safety and stuff like this, I wonder?
There was, when my previous job, I applied for it, but I missed the deadline. But there was for transportation for public, pedestrian safety. So it was the main intersections, and that's what Black Labish has, is they have cameras on every intersection, light intersection, so they can catch either pedestrians almost get hit, then they can charge the person, blowing the red lights, then they catch people walking up down the street, so they can pick off a lot of different directions. And the company that we had, it was facial recognition, AI technology, license plates, night vision as well. So it was all in one, and I've already put out a price for local, roughly on what these guys had, like that many cameras, just to see what the price would be for our downtown core. And then, like,
Ms. Parsons?
I'm just gonna give a motion, a proposed motion for consideration, if that's okay. Potentially move that council direct administration to conduct further research on camera options as discussed and return this item to the 2026 budget discussions.
Would someone be interested in moving that? Councilor Ford?
So moved.
Any other discussion on the item?
When is it coming for the budget?
Pardon?
When is it being brought to the budget? When is it being brought back for the budget?
Whenever requested.
At the budget meetings, I would,
That is that.
the workshops. I'm not sure if we have designated dates for those yet.
Not quite yet. I know CAO Miller hopes to bring the utility budget for discussion first. Utility operating budget likely in February, and then the operating one would follow. We're based on a 50% interim operating budget right now, so we have a few months to continue operations without needing to bring the 2026 budget forward quite yet.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Okay,
Do you have all the information that you would need to bring things back, like how many cameras we want, the specifics of the camera, or you just go and do like a wide research and bring all the options?
I'm gonna do a wide research where I'll do roughly what Lac La Biche did in our main intersections down on the main streets, where our cameras are, or where the lights are in our downtown core, because they can shoot down either way, either side. So I'm looking at between 24 and 30 cameras, and then the technology of what it would come back to bring us back to us here. And then we could receive it as well through the cloud, then I could share that with the RCMP. They can look on their TV and see downtown as well. So it's a two-way win situation where they can see stuff down there, then they just call me and say, can you bring up this date and time, and we send them the photo then.
Deputy Mayor Carr?
Would they also have access to the live stream if they wanted it? If
They
they
can
were
have-
looking for something or somebody?
Well, we would have control of the recordings. They would have live stream there. They could watch it on a TV screen there as well.
Okay, yeah, if they were looking for something in
Yeah,
particular.
then they just call me up and say, can you bring up this time, or I could give access with council's permission or with legislations under the privacy. What is it? Yeah, the Privacy Act. Yeah,
So we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Ford. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried.
thank you.
Next, we move on to number 3, the tax forfeiture property purchase with, Ms. Gaydon.
Good evening. I'm here to discuss the purchase of the tax forfeiture property located at 10034 100th Street. This is the Juliet's Place property. The motion had been brought forward in December, directing administration to issue an expression of interest for the sale and remediation of the property. And to appropriately move forward with such a motion, we need to purchase the property in order to be in compliance with the MGA. Division 8 of the MGA governs recovery of taxes related to land. It's very stringent, I guess would be the right word, where there are a lot of you must do this. So one of the criteria is that we must have a separate account for sale proceeds, which we already have. We have a tax recovery bank account with a very nominal balance in it. We have to go through the tax auction process. The property has to not sell at the tax auction, which this property has gone through that process already. And at that point, we have the option to transfer the property, the title of the property into our name with tax forfeiture. We've already done all of those steps on this property. So when we have ownership of property as tax forfeiture, we have, we're basically holding it in trust. So if the owner comes back and pays the outstanding taxes, the title reverts back to the owner. We also have the option to list it for sale at market value. We can't turn around and sell it for anything less than what the current market value is on the property. And what happens is, once that land is sold at market property, then a new title is issued that is not tax forfeiture, it's a clean title. So what we are proposing to do is, under the MGA, we have the option of basically selling it to ourselves at fair market value, depositing the money in the tax recovery account, because it's a separate bank account, and then we can request a new title that doesn't say tax forfeiture, but it's actually a clear title. And because we've sold that property and purchased it to ourselves, we now then would have the option to sell the property just like anybody else would if they had bought the property. So right now, the property is sitting there with tax forfeiture on the title. We are limited to selling it at fair market value. If we go through the step of selling it to ourselves at fair market value, then we can issue the expression of interest and evaluate options for a variety of different sale amounts. And as for what happens to those proceeds in that tax recovery account, there again, that's very strictly governed by the NGA. The outstanding taxes have to be paid. Other amounts owing, which we don't believe there are any, would also have to be paid. We would also be able to charge a 5% admin fee for all of our paperwork in terms of transferring the title and selling the land and everything. So until we go through that process of obtaining the clear title, the title could actually revert back to the original owner, or we would have to sell it at fair market value. And the taxes on the property, the outstanding taxes that would have to be paid is a shade over $52,000. The fair market value of the property is around $54,000. I believe that's what the assessment said. Yeah. So they're pretty much equal-ish. Yeah. So option one is that, in accordance with section 425 of the MGA, council direct administration to purchase the tax forfeiture parcel, the 10034 100th Street, for the assessed value of $54,190 for the purpose of disposition by way of expression of interest. If we do that, that allows us to move forward with the expression of interest. We would also then be responsible for insurance and maintenance of the property until such time as the expression of interest process is complete. We would be required to take our cash and deposit it into the tax recovery account. The other option would be for council to provide alternate direction with respect to the tax forfeiture parcel. And we would have to do something other than an expression of interest. And whatever implications those are would depend on what you direct us to do. Any questions?
Councilor Ford?
So with the recommendation, and if council went with the recommendation, when you talk about maintenance of that property, does that mean we're entitled to clean it up as well? In the state, at the current state, and take it to a clean lot? Or if you person goes through with the recommendation and then an expression of interest goes out as is, how does that work?
That's essentially exactly what we're looking at. If we bought the property, we could choose to clean it up and use it for ourselves. Or we could put out an expression of interest and say, as is, and then we could sell it for $1 and whoever would buy it would be required to clean it up within, say, 2 years or something. That would all be whatever proposal we get.
Mr. Parsons?
The maintenance comment, was mostly just to address also that, you know, we would need to put it on our insurance. It's now our property. We formally own it. You know, snow removal, the sidewalk in front of there
Yeah.
would become ours. If there was grass, there isn't, but if there was, that would become our responsibility to mow, that kind of thing. That was more along the line of what the comment was meant to reference.
Councilor Forsyth? Oh, sorry.
So we wouldn't have to tear it down and clean it up really.
Don't have to.
What was the price tag on the? You know, that, like, it was in the budget, like a estimate, does anyone remember? what-
150, 120, 150.
Yeah, it's over 100.
Yeah. Any other questions for Ms. Guido? Ms. Parsons?
I have one actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. I noticed in our recommended motion that we didn't put where the funds would be coming from. Would you want that included in the motion for direction of where those purchase funds are to come from?
Sure.
And that would be from the general reserve, unrestricted reserve?
Yes, yeah.
So just at the end of that motion, we would include and with such purchase funds to be taken from the general unrestricted reserve.
Anybody have any other questions? Mr. Babalolo?
Yeah, I just want to understand this. This 54,000 means we are buying it from ourselves, selling it to ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to get a clear title, so we can sell it for $1 then.
Yeah, I.
Do you have any, do you have concern? Good, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking like, to get the, what's it called now, the tax forfeiture title, I was thinking it's only administrative fee to land title that we need to pay, but maybe I was wrong.
We would be paying the 54,000 to ourselves. And then as part of dispersing the proceeds, we would then pay the 52,000 plus admin fee back to ourselves to recover the taxes owing on the property. So at the end of the day, we would wind up getting our money back. It's just, we have to go through the process in order to get the clear title.
Yeah, I think I understand that now, but my initial thinking was the reason why we are in this situation originally is because whoever owns that is defaulting on taxes.
Yes.
And so as a municipality, you could request the title from land titles on that. And when the land eventually sells is when it goes to that account, but probably I misinterpreted it, so.
If we don't go through this process, then we are required to sell it for the 54,000. Whereas if we go through the process of getting the clear title, we could sell it for $1 and require whoever buys it to clean it up and make it useful. And that, I believe, was the intention behind
Yes.
the expression of interest, was to get somebody to hopefully come up with a plan to take over the property, remediate it, and hopefully take down that fence on Main Street and have something useful there.
Ms. Parsons?
You are correct in your assessment that taking the tax forfeiture title is just that administrative fee to go to land titles and say, Town of Peace River wants tax forfeiture title. So you are correct in that. But in this case, we want clear title, not a tax forfeiture title. Otherwise, we're restricted under the MGA of how we can sell that property. It has to be for fair market value. So that doesn't necessarily open yourself up to an expression of interest process that allows, you know, and for us to consider anything, right? We have to have the fair market value. And you have the risk of the previous property owners win the lottery and say, you know what, we want to open our business back up and we want that title. And now we've gone through an expression of interest that's not legal. Very unlikely, but just.
Thank you for the clarification.
Councilor Deuce?
Yeah, just to play off that a little bit, if we don't go through this process, we're essentially acting as agents to sell the property for the landowner, right?
Essentially,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, So the expression of interest going forward, just thinking the next step after this, assuming that it's going to pass. Will you be coming back to council asking for suggestions, or do you guys have something in mind as to how to put out an expression of interest, like suggestions on what we want there, like, you know?
So usually an expression of interest is open to all options without narrowing it, other than what would, the zoning of that area would obviously provide some boundaries and restrictions to it.
Okay.
Unless there was something specific council was looking for, but I think the next step was just to proceed with an open expression of interest process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Councillor Ford.
Not a question, but I'll put a motion on the floor. In accordance with section 425(1)(b) of the MGA, council direct administration to purchase the tax forfeiture parcel legally known as Plan 6120AZ, Block 4, Lot 2, 10034 100th Street, Peace River, Alberta, for the assessed value of $54,190 for the purpose of disposition by way of an expression of interest proposal award.
Then are you gonna add?
General revenue.
Yes, with such
Councillor-
purchase funds to come from the unrestricted reserve.
So
Councillor
edited.
Erickson.
That was my comments to have Kaylee's marks put in there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other question on this? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Next up, we have number 10, or number 4, sorry, the 10 Acre Shaker Music Festival with Director Bell. Sorry about that, it was the 10 acre, not number 4.
Probably more like a 4-acre shaker, but I'm not gonna dither on
You don't have room.
the number of acres. Before you, council, is a bit of an early request. We did receive a request or an inquiry from a community member that's developing, further developing an existing festival and applying for a grant. So administration conferred to see how we can assist with this particular request through our funding systems. And the most appropriate path for this particular request is through the council's grants to organizations program. That is council's funding for nonprofits, for festivals, for community events and the like. So we took the request as a bit of an early intake. Our normal intake for this particular program, first intake is March 15th of every year. And the other significant reason for this early request is their particular grant deadline was the end of January. So the March 15th date and their January date did not align. So hence why we're bringing this forward outside of that normal process. We wanted to try to do the best we could to assist with this particular item because the grant opportunity is pretty substantive. For new members of council, the policy was linked. You'll get much more information in the next actual formal intake process. But we do follow the policy. Administration does a pre-evaluation for council's reference. You can use it, you can ignore it. It's there for your information. Just also to note, because of the 2026 operating budget hasn't been approved, we are working on 50% of the 2025 budget, and that budget for the council grants to organizations was $50,000. So you're working with a $25,000 budget just for your baseline. It is a $5,000 ask, so well within that allocation of funding. So the options before council that are presented within this report, and there may be others if you so choose, is to award the organization I have to get this right. I'm gonna say 4-acre. It's the 10 Acre Shaker Music Festival Society in the amount of $5,000 as per their request in support of their application to the Canadian Heritage Local Festivals Grant, with the funding being released on notification of successful grant application. Option 2 is to decline, but you would put this particular motion in the positive and you could defeat that positive motion if you choose to decline the request. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions on this event? Okay,
Not a question, but I think this is gonna be this, they did this event last year, didn't they?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, and it was pretty big success, so.
I heard it was a very good concert last year and that they're hoping to build on it. I was told it was a Peace Fest with a small town feel where you could go and you can still talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't loud enough, not like this microphone.
The other really nice thing about this particular event is it's nice to see our festival spread out throughout the summer months and not all in the same month. So this particular event was held last year, and I'm assuming hopefully going forward will be in August. I think it was the long weekend. Yeah. If I remember, yeah. Which is again, really nice to spread out major community events. That's how you build economic activity in your community, by having your festivals strategically placed throughout your summer season and not, jam-packed all in one month. So that's a really nice benefit, to this particular proposal.
Another benefit, I think, is the fact that we're utilizing a relatively new property in town that's been, purchased, and they are starting to build on that.
Yes.
And that kind of brings some activity to that as well.
Right, yeah.
Councillor Erickson,
I just wanted to express my support for option number one.
would you like to make that motion?
Yes, the council award the council grants to organizations application submitted by the 10 Acre Shaker Music Festival Society in the amount of $5,000 in support of their application to the Canadian Heritage Local Festivals Grant, with funding released on notification of a successful grant application.
Any other comments on that? If not, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bell. Number 5, next up will be Ms. Parsons on the council social media guideline.
You, Mayor Shannon, good evening, council. I promise there is a new mic system on order and hopefully the squeaking will stop soon. So first one up is the council social media guidelines. So as was noted at our January 12th meeting, this was a request by council to have a council social media policy brought forward. And then we discussed at the January 12th meeting that perhaps a legal opinion would need to be sought to see if we would be able to pass a policy. And so council provided the direction that perhaps we would just go more in the avenue of a guideline, just giving, a little bit of guideline and clarity to council members on how they all agree to use social media, and also providing that transparency and understanding to members of the public of what they can expect from their council members on social media. So we've attached, I asked our communications coordinator to prepare one based on his expertise and the other policies out there, kind of converting some of the policy lines to more guideline directions. And so it's there for council's consideration and feedback. The only thing is that it's strictly a guideline. It's not enforceable. There's no enforcement clauses or, repercussions for breaking the guideline. It's simply a guideline that council agrees together to abide by and follow. And I'm very happy to take any feedback or suggestions for amendment if any.
Anyone have anything to say on this matter? Does anyone want to make a motion? Councillor Dustin.
I would move that council adopt the council social media use principles and guidelines as presented.
All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Next up, we are still with Ms. Parsons, and we're on to number 6, which is the FCM 2026 conference attendance.
Thank you, Mayor Shannon. So FCM 2026 is slated to take place in Edmonton, June 4 to 7. With the FCM conference, it typically rotates back and forth from the east to the west, trying to get to all the different provinces and regions to show them off, but because it's the federal municipal conference. So within council's policy to be mindful of the budget, because out of province travel tends to be a little more expensive. We have budget for the mayor and 3 councillors to attend each year. So theoretically, each of you would have opportunity to attend twice in your council term and experience the FCM conference. So this year, with it being in Edmonton, we have a couple of options open to us. One, we could stick with status quo and just maintain with the 3 councillors and the mayor attending up to that many if people can attend. Otherwise, we could taking into consideration that Edmonton is kind of right in our back door, and we have our backyard, and we have many other opportunities and conferences that we attend in Edmonton, including the Alberta Municipalities Conference, which is also going to take place there in 2026. So many opportunities to go to Edmonton. And so we could look to divert those budget dollars to next year, allowing more of you to be able to go to the 2027 conference, which will be in Halifax. So then we're not impacting the budget as much. We're carrying forward those dollars, but then more opportunity for people to go to a conference that is outside of the province and to experience that conference. One of the really big hallmarks of the FCM conference are the study tours and being able to explore the community that you're in and the initiatives that they're undertaking. I included a few examples in the RFD. And so you get to go and explore, the new transit systems or waste facility sites and all this that are available in these communities. And so those are opportunities that we would have in Edmonton regardless. Or you could take the opposite view and say, you know what, it's in Edmonton. This is a less costly opportunity for us to all attend as a group. And we would like to actually increase our budget this year to allow more council to be able to attend, since it is in our backyard and it's right there, allowing that opportunity to have more of you to attend. So we're just seeking council's feedback on what they would like to do for this.
Okay, council, what would you like to see happen in this?
I'm in favor of.
Rob? Councillor Erickson, go ahead.
I'm in favor of a modified option number 1. I don't see why we have to have 4 people go down to it. The mayor is quite capable of being there and reporting back to everybody else. I don't understand the need to have extra money spent.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Quite often at these conferences, they'll put on different sessions on different topics, and the mayor can only go to one. So if 3 of you go to 3 different sessions and bring back more information. That would be one. Just curious. How many people want to go to FCM?
I would go. Not this year. I would go to any that we're supposed to go to.
What we're saying is if we defer till next year, we could send more to Halifax. Great idea.
Halifax.
Councillor News?
I would tend to agree with Councillor Forsyth that, we were just in Calgary in November for KB Munis, and it is in Edmonton this September, which I'm sure a lot of us will probably go to again if possible. So I think I agree with that there are more opportunities to go to Edmonton, so it might be good to see something outside of our province.
Sorry, so Mayor Shannon, the option 1 is written that we would divert the budget dollars for the 3 council members budgeted to attend in 2026 and allocate that to the 2027 operating budget. And so that option 1 just means that we would leave the budget dollars in for yourself to be able to attend Edmonton. And then those 3 would be carried forward to 2027, so more can attend Halifax. And every year we budget for all of council to go to AB Munis. It's a really important conference for municipal councillors. So there is budget every year for people to attend that.
Any more comments on that? I do have one comment. about, going to other areas. I know on the landfill committee that I sit on, we had, had the opportunity to go to different places, like it would be in Lake Louise and Kananaskis, and I was asking, why do these people have these conferences at these expensive resorts that, you know, give, you know, it costs a lot of money for municipalities to go. But the reasoning was because they want to show off what they have. I know it's an insult to them to say, well, I don't want to go to your community because it's too expensive. And I've been to different ones in the east now, and I can see the value there because of what you see, and it's the study tours for sure, and the walking tours. And I mean, I ended up on one walking tour with the people that were at the FCM. Somehow, 3 blocks later, I was with the cadets of Ottawa going to another tour. So like, there's a lot of people that go to these, and you have such a wide berth of topics to cover. There were so many that I didn't know. I was wishing that somebody was with me so I could send them to others, because I had a whole day at one conference session and no one could visit the others. And then we have to remember that we have a conference on the table here too, the medical conference. Do we not want people to come from far away to that? And do we want them to think, oh, well, that's too far away and too expensive, we won't go? So there's a few ways to think of this, but there is absolute value in visiting facilities in other areas. That's how I found the Library of Things. That's how it came here. Like, things like that you see in other jurisdictions, not your own necessarily. And for most of the, you know, things to do, tour in Edmonton, we've probably already visited those. We're familiar with all the study tours that I don't think we would have an opportunity to learn that much more there, whereas in another area we would. That's what I have to say on that. Anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Fisher.
I just want to jump in for some of the newer councils, just in case you weren't aware, FCM is also one of the agencies that we can apply to some grants for. So it is really important that we do have a municipal presence at these conferences. Because you can get a little bit of a heads up on new funding initiatives or some tips and tricks on applying for some of the funding programs that they're running.
Councillor Deuce.
Just a quick question. So who from administration goes to FCM? Is it the CAO and just the CAO, or is there, okay.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Would someone like to make a motion?
Well, I can make a motion. I guess the motion I'd like to put forward is option 1, unless there is more people that want to go to Edmonton this year. Was there anyone else that was planned?
I can't commit right now.
Well, but let me put it this way. Can I ask who all would go next year to Halifax if it was on the table for all 7 to go? Okay, I 2 parties out to decide. Just kind of wanted to have a little bit of a indication there. Okay, Councillor Forsyth, do you want to?
I'll move that council direct administration to carry forward the 2026 budget dollars allocated for the 3 council members' attendance at the FCM conference. And we'll move that to the 2027 operating budget.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor? And that is carried. Next up, number 7. We still have Ms. Parsons, East River School Division Board, Joint Municipalities Meeting Agenda. I didn't mean that to sound like we didn't want to. I meant to. Thanks.
That's okay, I didn't take it. Last one. So every year, the Peace River School Division schedules a joint board municipality meeting, typically in the first week of February. And they provide both an in-person and virtual attendance. And so all of council is invited to attend every year, and they put out an agenda. And they provide opportunity within the guidelines of the terms of reference for councils to put forward topics if they have something that they hoped to see on the agenda for discussion in collaboration with the school board. We don't always have topics. Sometimes we're just there to hear what they have to say and how we can support them. And sometimes we do. So the answer just that we don't have anything to bring forward at this time and just accepting this for information is also completely acceptable. But if anybody had something they were hoping to discuss, I'm also happy to put those forward.
Counselor Deuce?
From your recollection, I don't know how good your memory is, but, what kind of things have been asked in the past?
The one that comes to, oh, Mayor Shannon.
It was the carbon tax was kind of the big item last time. That was the emergent issue, but I don't see any emergent issues right now, but unless Ms. Parsons had something.
That was my example as well.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have anything else to say to that? How about a motion? Counselor Babalola?
I move that council request the following topics to be added to the PRSD board joint municipalities meeting. Meeting agenda scheduled for February 4, 2026.
How would we,
Apologies, Councillor Babalola. I would recommend possibly just accepting this report for information simply because council didn't have any topics to request to bring forward, if that's okay.
Sure.
does anybody have any topics that they think should be brought? Okay, so we'll go with the motion on the floor.
I move that council accept the report for information.
All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried.
I couldn't vote, I wasn't in the room.
Thank you, Ms. Parsons. And we're gonna move on to number 9, reports. So attached, we have the monthly development report with Pat Fisher. And number 2, we have the council event attendance report. So does anyone have any questions on either number 1 or number 2 of item 9? Seeing none, would someone be interested in making a motion to accept these reports for information? Councillor Deuce?
I move that council accept reports 9.1 and 9.2 for information.
All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Moving on to item 10, information. The council communication package has been sent out. Do we have any discussion items on that? Anybody want to bring up any item of interest? If not, would someone care to entertain a motion on that item? Councilor Forsyth.
Move the council accept item 10.1 for information.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to number 11, notices of motion. We have none. Number 12, comments from the public. Our gallery is presently empty. I don't think we'll be having any. And moving on to number 13, closed session. We do not have a closed session this night, on this night. And we will proceed to number 14, which is adjournment. Who would like to adjourn us? Councillor Erickson.
Move the council adjourn the meeting at 6:45.
Thank you. All those in favor of adjourning? Thank you very much. The meeting is now over.